Hey everyone, it's Alex, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. And this week, I'm not wearing pants, we have ourselves a bonus deck, which is going to be the Zorn decks. We have an 11th deck here this week, running a 55% win rate and a 0.18 cube rate. This is basically a worse version of good Scream decks, and it's kind of sad that Zorn is underperforming as much as it is. Now, bear in mind that, we're going to do things a little differently this week, and I'll explain in a sec. We just don't have a large volume of games post-Infinite, post-OTA. And so as a result, right, Zorn is underperforming here, and if you want to get the weekend mission done, this is currently the highest win rate version deck, and honestly, the cube rates are pretty low across the board. What I'll also say is that you could do something like I did and just add Esme and Zorn into a deck and auto build. It gave me this terrible Dracula dump deck that honestly with Esme is absolutely awful. But hey, sometimes we got to do what we got to do when you're feeling a little uninspired on the weekend and need to get those weekend missions done. Anyway, this is going to be the bonus deck. This is currently the highest performing, highest win rate version of Zorn, which is a little disappointing. But regardless, let's go to our statistical top 10. Now with this, I do need to say a couple things. So based off the OTA, a lot of significant changes were made. We just don't have a very large volume of games. And so decks 10 to 5 are going to be decks based over the last 30 days, and that's the statistics we're drawing from. Now, what I will say is that I've tried my absolute best to reduce the impact of any card hit in the OTA, although we will see, Sam Wilson from time to time. And then the other decks, the top 4, are statistical top 4 decks we have decent sample sizes of that are only using post-infinite stats from the OTA till this moment that I'm recording, okay? So I want to give you guys a nice balance of archetypes and decks so that you can kind of find what works best for you. That's going to take us to number 10 here, which is going to be Move Bounce. Running a 57% win rate at 0.37 cube rate. A reminder, these stats are over the last 30 days. This deck is actually outperforming the Frigga version, which I found surprising. I actually double-checked, brought up the Frigga one. It had a lower cube rate and a slightly lower, it was like 56.8% win rate. So the win rates are very close, but the cube rate was in the 20s. So this is outperforming that, which is great. Good to see. I know a lot of people do like playing Move. This version of Move Bounce, I personally don't like playing Move Bounce, but any deck with Toxin and Beast, the bounce functionality is relatively straightforward. So Frigga does, I like the top end of Frigga. I find that the Frigga shell has higher highs, but this has a very straightforward play pattern that if you're interested in at least trying Move Bounce, this feels like a much friendlier take on it that can at least get you started. And if you get very comfortable with it, then you can try to incorporate the Frigga shell and see if you can kind of take that to new heights. But regardless, good to see a Move Bounce deck doing as well as it is over the last 30 days. And that's going to take us to number 9, which is going to be Thanos. Now, I didn't want to include Thanos if I could avoid it, especially since this deck also has Sam Wilson in it, both of which got hit with nerfs. However, what I will say is that this deck has been performing so unbelievably well, and I want to give you guys a wide variety of archetypes to go off of. This is not using Strange Supreme. We won't be talking about Strange Supreme in this video, but I do think that the ongoing shells, especially with the tech pieces like Luke Cage, Cosmo, and Mobius have been very good. And so this one here over the last 30 days is running a 57% win rate at 0.43 cube rate. Just note, you would expect that to go down slightly considering the changes to both Thanos and Sam Wilson, but I was willing to put it in this list because I do think that this has been a very good shell over the last little while. Taking us to number 8, which is going to be Agent Gore. This deck is awesome. I actually, I don't know what it is lately. I've been really having fun with these like low power Bast based shells with Surge. I think it's a great way to play Surge. It's also notable that Esme absolutely slaps in this deck. Hitting Gore with Esme, Iron Man with Esme, it's just great. Like, these are great hits. And I always look a reason to play Nico Minoru, a card that I feel like for some reason I sleep on a little bit. Like, when I'm designing decks, Nico's probably the best card that I don't incorporate in a lot of my decks. Like, if you watch my videos, you'll probably notice, you're like, Alex doesn't really use Nico much at all, and I really don't. And so when someone cooks and they cook something nice with Nico, I'm like, all right, I got to give it a shot because it's a card that I know Cozy loves, I know you guys love, and maybe I got to get sold. Maybe I got to get sold on Nico Minoru. But regardless, Agent Gore, cool deck, 58% win rate, 0.38 cube rate over the last 30 days. Gore honestly is great. This has been a card that I think has flown under the radar. It's doing just well enough that it's worth playing, but I don't think it really crosses any thresholds for second dinner for like nerfing and stuff like that. And obviously it's a cube stealer during the level up bot phase of the season. So yeah, I like Gore and I think this deck is good. What's interesting about discard as an archetype is I feel like it largely falls under the radar. People don't really consider it a top tier meta contender, and yet over the last 30 days it runs a 59% win rate and a 0.47 cube rate. Interestingly enough, this deck, which is performing phenomenally, is really low in play rate and actually does not have that many games played. It's only a couple hundred games, and so I do want to preface this conversation by saying that. However, this deck has Malekith, which is one of my favorite cards that I don't play enough. I feel like I've been saying that a couple times this video, but Malekith is a card that I absolutely love playing, and Moon Knight is extremely disruptive. Corvus doesn't actually find itself in a lot of discard-based shells, but Khonshu has brought Corvus back because it minimizes the downside of discarding your Dracula or whatever, and hopefully hitting something like a Proxima or a Khonshu or Apocalypse or whatever, and so that's pretty good. It's just good, right? So Corvus in these shells offers you a lot of opportunities to even play Khonshu on turn 5 if necessary, to then set up a play with your Apocalypse if you need to. So honestly, at a 59% win rate and a 0.47 cube rate, if you're looking for something a little different, you could consider playing discard, which is honestly super flying under the radar right now. That's going to take us to number 6, and it is Spectrum. Now this is the Doom 2099 edition of Spectrum, running a 60% win rate and a 0.44 cube rate that also has Prodigy in it and Captain Carter. This is a very high performing deck, also running something along the lines of a Super Scroll, who, I mean, could be subbed out if you want, but honestly tends to steal some games here and there. This deck continues to be a very high performer, and it actually surprised me, much like Discard, that the Doom 2099 decks just aren't seeing much play. This deck only had a couple hundred games on it, and yet it's running a 60% win rate over the last 30 days. Pretty much the only card negatively impacted by this, by the most recent OTA here is going to be Sam Wilson, Captain America, and obviously Prodigy's in this shell, and Prodigy feels pretty good here. Prodigy's been a winner in the ongoing shells, despite it has better synergies and perhaps in the future might age particularly well, but in these shells, it's pretty fun, man. Prodigy kind of actually slaps in some of these lists. So anyways, long story short, Spectrum is a great option for you if you're looking to play some ongoing, and you know, it doesn't get much more classic. Oh, how good has Goliath been? Goliath been, by the way. Goliath has been such a good addition to that archetype. And talking about archetypes that are just good, here's Scream. And again, it's kind of interesting for me to see, and it's a bit of a statistical anomaly, and sometimes it makes me wonder. It's like, can it really be that different? You add Zorn to a deck like this, and you get a 0.18 cube rate. This was running 62% win rate at a 0.42 cube rate over the last 30 days. Can Zorn really mess it up that bad? I actually don't think so. However, what I will tell you is that I try to provide a analysis based off of the statistics that I'm given, instead of kind of going off script, so to speak, to give you guys, the most accurate information that I have available to me. And I will say that maybe Scream is just the best card to have been released in 2025. You know what I mean? Like, how good? Wait a minute, did Scream even come out in 2025? No, Scream. Why can't I remember when Scream came out? It definitely. I can't remember what year Scream. Did it come out in late 2024? It doesn't matter. This card has been insane ever since. And I will tell you that both Cozy and I gave it 5 stars. We were like, yo, this card is going to be cracked. It has been nerfed like 4 times. And look at this. I'm still talking about it at a 62% win rate. Now, of course, this particular shell does have the benefit of Hydra Stomper, Batroc, and Rocket and Groot. So it's had this like constant infusion of synergy that has kept that win rate and that cube rate buoyed up. So maybe Scream needed a little bit of support here and there, but it has been hit by so many nerfs, but it keeps getting injections of power. So if you're looking to rank up and get some cubes, I mean, you can't really go wrong with Scream. Now, the next decks we're going to talk about here are untapped based decks, which are going to be utilizing statistics from the OTA to the moment that I recorded here. And these aren't 30-day decks. These are like 3-day decks. So do keep that in mind. Things are heavily in flux and play rates are really low. We actually don't have a lot of games of Snap being played right now. Like, it might not surprise you, but statistically we did not have a large influx of games after the OTA, and so statistically we're a little weak on that side, and that's why I chose to run the 30-day decks to give you guys some options there. But anyways, Scarlet also running a 56% win rate, 0.30 cube rate. What I like about this deck, honestly, is Scarlet Spider. It gives me a reason to play Scarlet Spider, and there's been a couple different variations of this list. It's a little unfortunate that, like, when I look at something like Mr. Sinister, I'm like, man, C2, right? None of the Cerebros decks, and I checked, none of the Cerebro decks, either Cerebro 2, 3 or 4. I mean, or Cerebro 0 for those of you guys that really hate yourselves. Honestly, they don't crack the top 10. They just don't quite get close yet. But I am expecting next week someone's going to cook something with Cerebro. Cerebro, in my play experiences, when you don't get absolutely destroyed by locations, you pop the hell off, man. Like, I think Cerebro's legit. I think we just need a little more time to cook. That extra power makes a big difference. Why am I talking about Cerebro? He has nothing to do with the Elsa Bloodstone deck. But anyways, I guess I saw Mr. Sinister start going off there. For what it's worth, I will say, I really like this Mr. Sinister variant. It's just one of my favorite. I went off the rails last week with the variants. I won't do it again. Should I talk about this deck, or are you guys good? Should we just move on? Let's just move on. Surge making decks good is kind of the theme of the last little while. Now, what I will say, though, is that going into the top 3, Fenris Surfer, this was a cook, and I got really excited to see this. First of all, Makari, I feel bad for Makari. This is probably... It surprised me to say that I was most disappointed with the Makari change, because I was like, bro, what are we doing to Makari? Was 3-4 really that bad? But... here was a funny thing. Since the OTA, running a 57% win rate, and admittedly a very low Q rate of 0.21. The Q rate is a little too low, but I'm telling you, it was slim pickings with the data, okay? Like, I'm being honest with you. This Fenris Shell, which obviously runs Gladiator to try to hope to, like, destroy something kind of notable. You also have the Killmonger to destroy stuff as well. Negasonic destroy stuff. And I like, if you gain initiative and you Negasonic a lane you know they're going to play on, and then you activate Fenris. And the nice thing about Fenris, of course, is going to target that high value. So this deck, I think, is actually a really interesting cook for Silver Surfer. And U.S. Agent, obviously, is a pretty neat card to add in as those 2-drops. I really like flex 2-drops in Silver Surfer. And so I really wanted to showcase this deck. The stats aren't great, admittedly. They're just not great. But if someone's like, you know what, Alex, I'm already infinite. I just want to play games of Marvel Snap. This is actually kind of interesting, and I think it's worth checking out. I want to play more of this. And listen, any Silver Surfer cook, I'm in. I want to give it a shot. And this is no different. Taking us to the top 2, we have Arishem Thanos. It was kind of... I wanted to include this because even though I was like very hesitant to include Thanos stats, because obviously Thanos just got nerfed like a couple different ways. Time Stone 1, I think, hits pretty hard in particular. Seeing Arishem Thanos running a 57% win rate at 0.57 cube rate since the OTA, I'm like, damn, that's a lot. Also, it has Agamotto. And I was thinking about, like, I'm obviously prepping the Snapchat notes for Cozy and I talking about the new season cards and stuff like that. And I was like, man, does Agamotto make a comeback next season? Like, there's a lot of spell stuff going on. So I'm like, man, skills, I should say. I said spells, I meant skills. I think Agamotto, we might see him again. He kind of fell off completely, right? But I feel like Agamotto might make himself known again. Anyway, this deck has a whole bunch of tech pieces alongside Arishem. Surprise, surprise. That was like one of the original designs of Arishem. Let's build Arishem and a whole bunch of tech, and that's exactly what happened here. But of course, you got Surge with the analytic power that it provides, disruption of something like a Juggernaut. Long story short, you have a good Thanos deck that also runs Alioth, which makes people super sad, but it's okay. I feel like, Alioth's at a point right now where you can legitimately catch people by surprise and steal some cubes. He used to be all over the meta, and like every time you didn't have initiative, you're like, oh man, I'm just gonna get Alioth. This is GG. Do you remember that feeling where like you couldn't play your last turn because you're just gonna get Alioth? At least that's not happening anymore. But when it does, that's usually where the 8 cubes come from. Long story short, Arishem Thanos early on in the OTA doing tremendously well. And I really wanted to showcase this, the top deck in Marvel Snap right now, according to Untap-based statistics. This is a Sauron shell, obviously running the 1-3 Sauron here, and it's pretty much just Sauron with Surge in it, and it's running a 61% win rate and a 0.43 cube rate. So maybe the funeral kind of orchestra for Sauron came too early. Now, naturally, I know a lot of people are excited about Nightmare, and we'll talk more on the Snapchat about Nightmare and stuff like that, and perhaps Sauron and Nightmare were. Maybe seconders like, we gotta do something about that. Like, I don't know if we can release Sauron and Nightmare together the way they're currently spec'd and statted and everything like that. Well, the good news is that Sauron's doing okay. Now, largely because I did play this deck, and the cool thing about it is it just makes Enchantress more valuable. Like, if you play Sauron and you're holding Starbrand and stuff, you're like, damn it, Starbrand. And then you, oh wait, I got Enchantress. And then you play your Starbrand down where they play their Cerebro. You're like, okay. We're cooking now. And then you just smoke the Cerebro with the Enchantress, taking out the Starbrand power as well. Yeah, you get those moments. Obviously, Sauron's not as good as it used to be. At least being a 1-drop is at least fair. Like, drawing on a 1. It's better than it was when it was 3, I will tell you that. But anyways, it's good to know that Sauron's still doing well. Currently, according to Untap-based statistics, and this is stats from the OTA, 61% win rate, 0.43 Q rate. Those are good stats. So if you want to play some Sauron, here's a deck for you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like button if you haven't hit it already. Make sure you're subscribed, just in case you're not, because maybe you thought you were and you're just not. But regardless, I appreciate you nonetheless, and we'll see you on that next one.